Well, this morning, Texas Secretary of State David Whitley was in Alice visiting his alma mater, Alice High School. And he took the opportunity while there to encourage students to vote just as soon as they're old enough. Our Taylor Ananese here now to tell us more about Whitley's visit today. Taylor?
Joe, Whitley says it was an honor to walk down the halls of his alma mater again and talk to fellow Coyotes about the importance of voting. Whitley says he remembers sitting in the same spot as them, listening to speakers and thinking about his future. He says it's the perfect time for students to get involved in their communities, state and nation, because they are taking government classes and learning more about the three branches. He says the earlier you can get people involved in the democratic process, the better, and the first step is to register.
I registered when I was 18, when I was a senior in high school right here at Alice High School. If they can register and they participate in every single election, that's perfect.
He says every vote counts. Whitley was appointed Texas Secretary of State back in December by Governor Greg Abbott. He acts as Texas's Chief Elections Officer and Protocol Officer for State and International Affairs. Whitley also serves as a liaison for the governor and Border and Mexican Affairs. Whitley says his goal is to tour as many high schools as possible so he can encourage people who have the first chance to vote to do it. Joe?
It is an opportunity. All right, Taylor, thank you.